12 o'clock. If you guys have a yoga block, it's going to be handy for today's class. If you have two, even better. They're not 100% necessary. Just
I said this already.
make do. Not on Facebook. Make do. Listen to your body. This class is going to move pretty quickly. We're going to do a lot of strength work, and then we earn the Shavasana, the resting pose. So we're not going to do a lot of breaks, we'll do some connecting with our breath, but not a lot. It's really about trying to build some strength.
Do they stretch and strengthen?
No, that was yesterday, the blow-up class. Okay, so we're going to start on your mat. Have your block handy before you come down. So have your block kind of near your knees. You're going to start with your feet down on the ground and your knees up. If you like, you can take your feet a little bit wider than the hips and just kind of let your knees fall in towards each other. Sorry, we've been in the tavern. It was super dusty today, so I don't have corona. I just have construction dust. Even though I was wearing a mask, somehow it got in. So let your hips land on the ground. Let your rib cage land on the ground. Let your shoulders land on the ground, and just start to arrive on the mat. Prepare for 60 minutes of work. Let everything that's outside of the four edges of your mat be outside of the four edges of your mat. Allow your body to land right here, right now. And then allow your mind to land right here, right now. Start to lengthen your breath. And if you're feeling particularly tense or wound up, maybe just taking a couple of breaths, breathing in deeply, and then exhaling with a soft sigh. So a little open mouth exhale. Breathing in fully. And sighing it out. Try that a couple of times. And then try that same breath with a soft smile on your face. Breathe in fully and sigh it out with a soft smile. And then just relax your breath. And see if you can retain this soft smile. And the smile doesn't need to mean anything. Just notice how your face muscles feel in a soft smile. Maybe your eyes feel like they release a little tension. Maybe your cheeks, maybe your forehead. Maybe you can start to even bring some of that releasing of tension down into the neck, into the shoulders. And then imagine a soft smile affecting your whole body. Imagine that energy flowing throughout your body. And then gently bring your knees in towards the chest. Give yourself a little hug, and you can rock it if that feels good. And then take your feet up towards the ceiling. Pull your toes down towards your shin. Press your hips into the ground. And we're just going to start to move and breathe. So allowing your hips to feel like they're being pulled down into the ground by your stomach and your rib cage, not your lower back, your hips and your rib cage. Pull your stomach really strong. Inhale as you lower the right leg. Exhale as you draw it back up. Inhale as you lower the left leg. Exhale as you draw it back up. Trying to keep all of this work in the core. If you feel like the back is doing some of the work, try not to lower the foot so low. Really actively pressing the hips into the ground, pressing the rib cage into the ground, engaging the entire core. Maybe even feeling like you're lifting your chin a little more to the ceiling. See if you can get some of the higher core muscles activated. And then bring your knees in. Give yourself a hug, a little reset. Grab onto your block. Place it just below your knees. If you don't have a block, just imagine you're squeezing it. Get your feet on the ground. Feel your feet on the ground to a comfortable position for knees, ankles, and hips. So wherever that is for you, press your hips down into the ground and then give this block a really strong active squeeze. This should also already feel like you're firing up some muscles. We're going to really squeeze the block. Allow our shoulders and ribcage to remain on the ground. Squeeze the block, squeeze the core. Start to feel like you're really pulling those muscles in tight towards the spine. And then take the knees an inch to the right, an inch to the left. Little rocks, little tiny movements. Squeeze the block really hard. Squeeze those muscles in the core a little more. Push the hips down into the ground. Try to take the tension out of the neck. Land the knees back in the middle. Holding onto the block. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. A little tiny lift of the hips. Not really lifting, but more of a tilt. And then take your chin all the way to the right shoulder and all the way to the left. Just kind of roll your head heavy on the ground, but keeping the squeeze in the core so you can release some of the muscles in the neck. Keeping the squeeze of the block. Now bring your feet together. Squeeze your feet together, squeeze the block. And take the block movement. So knees left and right, about an inch, left to right. Squeezing. Low core should feel fired up already. This should feel like work. If you're not feeling like you're working those low core muscles, you're not squeezing the block hard enough, and you're not drawing those muscles hard enough towards the ground. Take the tension out of the neck. Bring the knees back to neutral. Take the block and take it the wide way. And then squeeze it between, just underneath the knees. Land the feet wherever comfortable. Wide way.
Like this?
Yes. Squeeze. See, now you're using more inner thigh. Liar. If you're not squeezing. Squeeze harder. Notice how you use a slightly different muscle group. And then take your knee rock. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Breathe. And then release the block. Bring the knees in. Give yourself a little hug. Don't throw the block away or about. Just keep using it. Just a quick reset. So we're going to place the block either just below the knees or just below the knees or just above the knees, whichever works for you. And we're going to hover and squeeze the block. So legs are going to come up towards the ceiling, squeeze the block. Find either direction to squeeze the block that works for you. It can be wide, whichever way works. Squeeze the hips down to the ground. We're going to hold and squeeze. And we're going to take, watching compensation patterns, we're going to take the feet a little bit over to the right. Maybe the left hip pops up a little bit. And then the feet a little bit over to the left. So notice which muscles, if you're squeezing the stomach tightly towards the hips, which muscles are starting to fire up. Bring the feet a little bit closer to the ground and keep that slow left to right. Squeeze the core. If this is super challenging, bend the knees, squeeze the block. Makes the legs a little bit less heavy. Squeeze the block, get a really fired up core. And then keeping the block there, hold. We're going to come on up to a supported boat. So come on up, bring your hands behind you, hold and squeeze the block. So once you get here, make sure you're not landing on that tailbone.
If yesterday was stretch and strengthen, today is strengthen, and tomorrow is major.
Stress. Keep your boat, hold, fire up, active. And then we're going to take our hips, feet a little bit over to the right hip, a little bit over to the left hip. Squeeze the core, squeeze the block. Not using motion. So not throwing your limbs in space, but finding some active core muscles. Squeeze and hold. Try not to lean too much into the hands. Stomach active and strong, and then bring it down. Release your block. Bring the soles of the feet together. Some butterfly kicks. Bring the legs out and take some wiggles. Wiggle the leg. Bring the left leg long, right leg crosses over the left leg. Get really, really, really tall. Bring your arms out of play, and then you're going to turn from the rib cage. So really find strong right leg. So it's planted, it's pulling up out of the ground. This leg is really strong. Left leg is strong and active. Core is strong and active. And then you can place your hands. So one of the things people often do is they torque with their arms, but they're not building that core strength. So hold. Get longer in the spine. Breathe. Slowly bring it back to center. Bring the right ankle just above the left knee. Activate the right leg. So pull that knee towards the ground. Bring the left heel in. And then press the right knee away from you. Breathe. And another side. Wiggle it out. Bring the left foot over the right leg. Get really, really tall. Feel both sits bones pushing down into the ground. So feel like you're really drawing that energy down into the ground and then pulling up from the center through to the crown of the head. Take the arms out of play. Twist with the core from the rib cage. And then you can bring your arms down. Get taller, taller, taller. Squeeze your twist. Active left leg, active right leg. Press the left leg down into the ground. Pull up from the ground. Breathe. And bring the torso back to center. Left ankle just over right knee. Draw left knee down to the ground. Notice discrepancies. See, mine is a lot higher on this side. Bring your torso nice and tall, and then slide the right heel towards you, still actively pressing the left knee away from you. Or just hanging out like Kaylee. See how she's soft.
Pushing that leg down.
Bring it down, shake it out. Bring yourself nice and tall. Point the toes away from you. Start to fire up the front of the feet. Bring the toes back towards you. And then bring the feet towards the shins, maybe more of a bend in the knees. And take nice slow circles with the feet, trying to make the movement mostly from the ankle down. Nice and slow, as if you're trying to feel every single point of the circle. And then back in the other direction. Strengthen the feet. We're going to be on them a lot. We're going to be balancing a lot today. So get those feet strong. Take the feet down, press the feet down, point the toes, and pull the toes back. Widen the toes, stretch the toes. See if you can get gaps between each of your toes. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Notice if when doing that you start to have any feedback in your feet, any muscles that feel like they're weak. Huh?
I said, yeah, toe cramping.
Cramping is weakness. So then let it go. Come on over, cross legs. Do a tabletop position. I'm going to turn around because the microphone is that way. We're going to move and breathe in our tabletop. Make lots of space for the wrists. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, back towards a child. Inhale, forward. Exhale, back. Connecting with the body, connecting with an internal experience. Finding breath with movement. Two options to change this up a little. Either just bringing the knees about hip width apart, feeling like you're pressing down through the knees and then pulling them out apart. This should fire up the glutes. Or we're going to squeeze the block again. So block just above the kneecaps, squeezing the block. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, connecting with the hands, sending the hips backwards. Inhale, forward. Exhale, back. Just noticing how this feels different to fire up and squeeze and activate the lower half of the body. Simple change, just a little different. And then holding on to the blocks, tuck the toes, and send your hips up to a down dog. Sorry, hit your nose. Find a down dog while squeezing the block. Maybe wiggle it a little if it's too close to the kneecaps. Squeeze the block in a down dog shape. And bend the knees and straighten the legs. Squeezing. Bend the knees, straighten the legs. I didn't actually say anything. Normally I trip over English. That one was right. That was just you this time.
I thought you were like, I meant like bend the knees and straighten the legs at the same time. I was like, that is...
Bend and straighten. Bend and straighten. And then we're going to go down dog. Inhale, forward plank. Squeeze your block. Down dog. Exhale. Inhale, forward. Go slow and with control. Find mindful movement from the toes to the fingertips. Making space for the wrists. Lifting up out of the ground using your chest and your stomach.
I think I'm using my knees to squeeze the block. Not my actual...
Huh?
I don't think I'm actually using the muscles in my leg to squeeze the block. I think I use my kneecaps. Like, straightening and bending my knees or something weird.
Find a down dog. Find a little bend in the knees, still squeezing your block. So lots of options here. This is yoga for strength. So we're going to bend the knees and we're going to look towards the hands. We're going to take little hops up. You can also do donkey kicks all the way up to your hands. So little hops, or if you're working on your handstand, donkey kicks with the heels towards the glutes. All the way up towards the hands. Land. Always land light in yoga.
Smash down.
Once you get up close to your hands, land your feet on the ground. We're still keeping that block here. Land your feet on the ground, bend into the legs, let the torso find the thighs. Take the tension out of the head. Still a little tiny squeeze of the block. Bend into the knees deeply until you can tuck your hands up to the wrist under your feet. Stand on your hands, then wiggle your toes on the top of your wrist. Gorilla pose. Take the tension out of your head, your face, your neck.
I was going to say ooh, ooh, ah, ah, but I don't know what noise a gorilla makes.
I think that's it.
Is it actually?
You could just talk because you're a gorilla.
Nice.
So take some wiggles, like a little self-massage on your wrists. Slowly bending into the knees, carefully unwind the wrists. And then take the wrists and fold them over, make a fist, and then spread them out wide. Bend into the knees, inhale, rise all the way up. Connect your hands, prayer overhead, down to your heart. Still squeezing that block. So now find your mountain pose, active legs. Everything should be active all the way down the sides of your legs. Whole leg active just by adding a block. Find your mountain pose. Settle in here, squeezing the block. We're going to start to move and breathe with this active squeeze. Inhale, lift your arms up overhead. Exhale, sink it down, little tiny chair, hands to heart. Inhale up. Exhale down. And we can stay with this simple movement, or if you'd like to build upon it, we're going to add coming to our toes, coming to the balls of our feet. Inhale up, and exhale, lower hips without dropping heels. Inhale up, super challenge, squeeze that block, find that lower core. Exhale, hard. Squeeze it down and hold. Either heels lifted or not, hold your chair. Squeeze the core a little more, soften the back a little more. Soften the shoulders and the face, breathe. And then release the heels, release the block, and really tap out those legs. We have a lot of activation, so notice what it feels like to turn off and loosen the legs. Take the feet about mat width apart. Now we're going to work the opposite way. So land your feet on the ground and feel like you're pushing them apart. Really work the outside legs. Get really long in the torso. And we're going to bring the torso forward. Really, really strong and active in the outsides of your legs and the hips and glutes. Bring the arms up to make this more challenging. Breathe. So these legs should be really strong. Breathe and hold. If you do not have the arms up, you're going to rest them on your hips. You're just going to take your right shoulder towards the left foot, back to center, left shoulder towards right foot. Or you're going to hold out and use the arms as a guide. This is a little more challenging. Squeeze the core. This should all come into the core. Legs are locked, strong, solid. Inhale, center. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, center. Exhale, squeeze. Outside leg should be firing, should be burning up. Bring it back to center. Hold. And then slowly fold forward, bend the knees, land the hands on the ground. Step right foot back, left foot back, high plank. Breathe and hold. Send the hips back, down dog. Lift the right leg high. Bend the knee, bring it in towards the navel, and then take the right ankle, cross it over the left knee. Bend that left knee. So draw the right knee behind you, then slowly walk your hands towards your foot. So you should be feeling warm, stretch, right glute. Breathe and hold. Take out the tension in the neck. Activate the foot. See if you can find some more muscles. And then maybe bending, really bending the left leg. So there's lots of places you can take this pose. We can come into flying lizard. So you can hang out here. You can find your way back to a down dog and then rest in child's. Or if you want to play for a challenging arm balance, we are going to bring our hands down, plant them, lock this left foot around, right foot around our left arm, and then come forward. And just practice coming forward here. Bending the left leg, and then maybe even coming onto our arms, putting some weight here. Slowly bring it back. Now we're going to walk back, down dog. Bring that right ankle forward, right knee forward. Flying pigeon. So you're lifting your pigeon, not landing in your pigeon. So hold that right knee up. Nice and strong. And then bring it back to center. Then step the right foot forward. Find your blocks. Inhaling forward. Exhaling, sending right leg towards straight. Inhaling forward. Exhaling towards straight. And then if you want to work this right glute a little, you're going to turn the hips open and bring them back. So turn the hips open and bring them back. Let that back foot move around. You can also bring the hips back so that the right leg is straight, left leg is bent, and kind of twist the torso a little. So just finding some movement up into the right glute area. And then find your low lunge. Lift up off that top thigh, the right thigh. Engaging legs, strong base. And then inhale, rise all the way up, high lunge. I am dripping sweat, sorry. Hold a high lunge. Get really solid in your foundation. We're going to bring the torso forward. We're going to bring the arms out. You're going to engage that lower core we were already working. You're going to pop up back leg. Not quite a full warrior three. So the left leg is just hovering. Bend the left knee. Bend the right knee. Come to a hover. Still hovering. Take right knee behind, left knee behind right knee. And then land, curtsy. Krishna pose or curtsy. Land, solid foundation. Squeeze the legs strong, squeeze the core. And then we're going to come to the ball of the right foot, relevate. Lift up and lower. Lift up and lower. Nice and slow, little bit of movement in the back leg. Squeezing the legs, squeezing the lower core to stay balanced. Land the right foot, and then the movement's going to focus in the back knee. So lower and lift. Lower and lift. Small change in movement, big change in muscle group. Notice. And then you can stay here, keep pulsing, or if you want to find the challenge, we are going to bring the torso back forward, still a bend in that right knee. Lift and hover the back toes. Woo. And then we're going to bring the left knee out and in. Out to the left and in towards the knee. Out to the left, in towards the knees. Squeeze the inner thighs. Left leg active. And then bring that back slowly to an actual warrior three, nice and long. Right hip should be burning. Land it back. High lunge. Take your right fist and make some fist bumps on the right glute. Right hip area. Bending the back leg, slowly lower down and lift the right toes. You can find your blocks here if you want to come forward. You want to feel like you're pushing the right heel away from you and then pulling back from it all the way to the hip.
That's impossible. You can't push and pull.
Yes, you can. So push the heel. And then from the heel up, pull.
I don't know what I did, but I tried to do that and I felt like I was going to throw up. I don't think I used the right muscles. It's confusing. I tried to do that, my body was like,
Bring the weight back over the front foot.
It's not possible.
And using your blocks or not, come forward on the right leg, standing split. So bring the weight onto the right leg and slowly lift the left. And then take the tension out of the neck. So I feel like you're pulling up out of the ground as well as pushing into the ground. Lift that right hip. Pull it up towards the ceiling. Slowly.
I used to be good at those. That's disappointing.
Press into the hands. Right foot meets left, knees down. And take a child and reset. Find your breath. You're getting close.
And home.
Well, I could send you home now, but like you would have one hip that feels strong and one hip that feels neglected. So, one other side.
I'm to Shavasana now.
I
I'm a little upset about
mean, we could do that. That would be a very good thought experiment.
I'd be walking funny for ages.
There's nothing that says we have to be even. We don't use our bodies even. Letting go.
My brain says I have to.
Finding your breath. Resetting. And really taking a time to pay attention to the right glute versus the left glute. They should feel different. Maybe they don't. And then make your way to a down dog. Lifting up out of the ground and connecting with this shape. Turning our world upside down finding your head below your heart. Try not to really sink into the wrist, like let your whole body weight dump into the wrist, but pull up out of the ground as if you're lifting the hips towards the ceiling. We do an aerial class, we grab the aerial silk around the hips and have that pull feeling. It's amazing. So imagine you had somebody that could pull your hips up with, like they had a rope or a strap around your hips and lightly lifted them up. Took your weight out of your wrists and shoulders.
We should do a self class later today and video it, speed it up and put it on Instagram. I want to do a self class. That's basically just me making you do a self class with me.
We have yoga at the lake tonight. Breathe. Lift the left leg high. Bring the left knee in towards the chest and then cross the left ankle just over the right knee. Slowly walk your hands back towards your feet. Bend in the right leg. And find the point where you can draw that left knee down towards the ground actively and strong. Maybe bend a little more. Play with hooking left foot on right arm. You can play with hooking and balancing, bringing some weight. So you bring your weight onto your triceps and slowly practice lifting right toes. Bring the weight forward, slowly practice lifting the toes. And then bring it on back. Slowly walk the hands back out. Bring the left knee towards the left elbow and hover your pigeon. So left leg hovers. Squeeze the left leg. And then step it through. Low lunge. And find some movement. Inhaling forward, exhaling, sending left leg towards straight. Inhale forward, exhale back. Maybe finding some of that hip movement. And then finding a low lunge. Getting strong in your low lunge, lift up off the left thigh. And then inhale, rise all the way up. High lunge.
Maybe I am ready for Shavasana.
Find a solid high lunge. Bring the upper body forward. And then we're going to pop up the back leg by nutting to a full warrior three. So body weight comes onto the left leg, lift the right leg. Bring the right knee behind the left knee, bend the left knee, flex the right foot, hover, and then lower to a curtsy. Try to get the hips even. Legs are both strong. Stomach is engaged, shoulders are soft, breath is strong. Face is soft. And then we're going to releve left foot. So lift the heel, lower the heel. Squeezing the muscles in the legs, squeezing the core. And then lower left heel. And we're going to focus on the back knee. So right knee lowers. And then lift. Small movement, engage legs. Nice, strong legs. Maybe you stay here. Or if you want to come to the challenge, you're going to bring the torso forward, bring the weight onto the left leg. Pop up the right. Hover. Active leg, and then lift the right knee out to the right and back to the left knee. Out to the right. Squeeze the thighs. Slowly send it back. Warrior 3. This time full warrior 3. Woo. Breathe and hold. Lower slowly, high lunge. Bend the back knee. Start to send the left knee towards straight. Press into the heel and then pull back from the heel. Maybe finding your blocks. Maybe lifting the toes on the left foot. Try not to send the knee all the way backwards, but feel like you're pulling all the way from the heel up to the hip. Breathe. Take the tension out of the face and the neck. Bring the weight onto the left leg and slowly come forward, standing split. So weight onto the left leg, squeeze the core, get long in the torso, lift the right leg. And then take the tension out of the head and the neck. Breathe. Slowly lower back, low lunge, hands to the ground, left foot meets right. You want to do one more quick challenge, maybe add in some donkey kicks. So bringing your feet towards your hands and then kicking up, donkey kicks to the heels, strengthening the shoulders, getting prepared for your handstands.
Oh, that was really good handstand.
And then when you're done playing, make your way to a child's pose. Love it. Release. Surrender. This is your last child's. You can also, if you prefer, make your way all the way down to crocodile to surrender. So if you're coming to crocodile, crocodile is one hand on top of another, forehead down. And surrender into the ground. Find your breath. So no matter what shape you're in, you're going to bring your forearms down to the ground. And you're in child's. Or maybe you're all the way down in crocodile. Bring your forearms down. A little bit more work. So you're going to tuck your toes. If you're in child's, you're just going to start to engage. You can tuck your toes if you're in crocodile. And lift the hips. Start to engage from your nose all the way to your knees. Maybe even lifting and hovering the knees. So arms are engaged, chest is engaged, core is engaged. Feel like you're pulling your knees a little bit towards your navel. Breathe and hold. Take the tension out of the neck. Strengthen the shoulders. Strengthen the core. Breathe. Squeeze the back muscles a little more. See if you can squeeze the glutes. Lower the knees down all the way to crocodile. Everyone, forehead down and then lift and hover. Arms, shoulders, legs. Breathe and hold. Find more muscles in the back. Breathe. Forearms down. Tuck the toes. Lift the hips. Forearm plank. Breathe. You have to earn your Shavasana. Breathe. Lower down. Quick reset. Lift shoulders and feet. And legs. Squeeze some more. Squeeze the back. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Get longer from the toes to the crown of the head. One more time. Forearm plank. Tuck the toes. Lift the hips. Hold, squeeze. Use the core. Use the forearms. Lower down, quick reset. Quick hover, lift shoulders and feet. This time, find your crocodile. Surrender and loosen and soften. Leaving your left hand under your forehead. Take your right arm straight up from the shoulder towards over your head. Lift and hover the right arm. Slowly bring it all the way down towards the right hip. Bring it back to shoulder height. Lift it up towards the ceiling, maybe even rolling a little onto the left side. And then down. Up and then down. You can make this movement as small or as big as you like. We're just working through shoulder and upper back. Release that down. Switch hands. Left arm straight from the shoulder over the head. Lift and hover, and then slowly bring it down all the way to the hip, trying to find the muscles in the shoulder. And then all the way back, even with the shoulder. And then inhale, roll open, lift, exhale, lower back to the ground. Inhale, open, exhale, back. And then bring it back down, crocodile and shimmy. Let go. If you are one of those people that finds crocodile incredibly restorative, you are welcome to stay in your crocodile. If not, you're going to roll on over to your back. So if you're going to stay in crocodile, feel free to just start taking some shimmies of the hips, some loosening of the neck and shoulders, letting go, and then chilling out and ignoring us when we do a few little resets on our back. If you've moved to your back, try to find your hips on the ground. Try to return to where we started. So find your hips on the ground. Find your feet a little wider than your hips and your knees in towards each other. And then do a real strong check-in. What feels different? How do your feet, your knees, your ankles, your hips, your stomach? How does your face feel? How does your breath feel? How does your mind feel? Start to release and soften. If you're chilling out in crocodile, go ahead and chill out in crocodile. If you'd like to do glute, heel to glute, and just stretch in left and right sides, go ahead and do that. If you're on your back, you're going to take right knee over left, and you're going to bring the knees in towards your chest, and maybe grab the shins, bringing opposite feet to shoulders. You're not doing your favorite stretch. I only did this for you.
I go to sleep.
So find that right glute area and breathe into it. These fight or flight muscles, powerful muscles that often hold a lot of tension and gripping. Place your awareness here and imagine a letting go and softening of this entire space, the hip, the glute, the low back. And then slowly unravel and switch sides.
On the back of my throat.
Opposite feet to shoulders. Find the left glute space, left piriformis. And slowly unravel. Bring your knees in towards your chest. Maybe even squeeze them in tight. Curl up in a little teeny tiny ball. Notice what it feels like to be compressed and small and wrapped up. And then slowly allow right heel to come towards the outermost edge, the right corner of your mat. Slowly allow the left heel to slide towards the left corner of the mat. Noticing any shuffles or adjustments you need to make for your hips to land comfortably on the ground. Take up some space with the lower body. Bring a little bit of tension into the heels and a little lift of the knees up off the ground. And we're just going to flick the toes. A little bit of a wiggle and reset for the whole body. Allow the body to start to soften into the ground. Flick the toes. Let the body wobble. This kind of cellular reset from the toes to the crown of the head. Breathe. Let go. Try and let your body soften, but notice any places that appear to be gripping even though you're trying to soften. Try not to judge them, just notice. Oh, right shoulder seems to be stiff today, or left lower back, or maybe a glute, maybe a calf muscle cramping, who knows. Whatever it is for you, just notice. Sometimes just telling your brain where it is can help your body reset. Breathe. And then very, very suddenly, take a deep breath in. And suddenly let go with the exhale. Let your body land where it lands. Notice how it feels. Invitation to return to that soft smile, sigh, exhale. Breathing in nice and slow, and then breathing out with a soft smile and a soft sigh through the mouth. And then land. Do a quick scan in the neck and skull space, just kind of making sure there's no residual tension around the neck, around the shoulders. And begin to soften into your mat, letting go of control of even your breath. Card I pulled today is from the Grateful cards. Spiritual cards. Things get harder before you level up. Know that. You're working hard and making good life choices, and then boom, out of nowhere. Hold on. Something storm. Sorry, these have curse words in them when I remembered we were on YouTube. So, boom, out of nowhere, a storm starts, and you can't figure out why. It's like mountain climbers getting to the peak. It's steeper and the weather is worse up here. But if they were to give up or to spend time crying about why it's so hard, no one would ever get to the top of Everest. Most of us would rather chop off a hand than climb a snow-covered mountain. But it's still great. It's still a great metaphor. So, hard work. Sometimes it's harder before we level up. I like that visual of like being in a video game. And you fight off the hardest monsters and then you gain a level. So each time that we're fighting our demons and we're moving through and fighting our past or figuring out what we're doing, how we would like to be, gets a little harder. Sometimes this stuff comes out of nowhere, ready to be processed, and you're like, whoa, where'd that come from? Sometimes it gets harder before we can move on. And I think we can agree that collectively as a planet right now, we're in one of those phases. It is definitely getting harder. Maybe we're going to level up. Maybe we can pull together. I've seen a lot of responses in love and kindness for people, for strangers. I've seen people respond to strangers with love and kindness. When I myself had a little moment of judgment, I noticed a bunch of people gathered around this person and comforted them and gave them support and kindness and unconditional kindness for this complete stranger online. And then other times I've seen stuff that disappoints me, but I think that we're ready to move up. We can make better choices. We can be kinder to each other. But most importantly, I think we can be kinder to ourselves in this tough time. So as you lay here, resting into your resting pose, feeling all that hard work. We did a lot of hard work. I'm sweating. I don't know if you were sweating, but I'm sweating. We worked hard. Now earn your resting pose and notice what is ready to come up, what is ready to be processed, where you're at, and what you're ready to let go of. If you're in a fabulous place in your resting pose, please feel free to take the time and listen to your body. At the confines of another class coming in, we don't have to shuffle you along, so feel free to take the time your body needs in this pose. Your body, your mind, your soul, whatever is calling to hold you down to this space, hold you down in your resting pose, take this time. If 60 minutes is all you have today, we're coming up on that mark. So begin to bring some wiggles to your fingers and your toes. Slowly bring a knee in at a time and curl up in a little ball on whichever side is calling to you. Connecting to a fetal pose. Connecting to that center of yourself, beneath all the layers of society and the layers we place on ourselves and the layers of ourselves. So our physical, mental, emotional, those layers also. Right in the middle is our bliss layer, our center, our soul, our spirit. So many names, so many different things to connect. Whichever works for you, find it. Find that center. Most people relate it to the heart center, the center of the chest. Imagine you could rest in here as if you were wrapped in a fetal position in a womb, wrapped in a little ball of protection. Coming to this pose to remind ourselves of a time when all of our needs were met and we had not judged ourselves as negative or positive. We were just a little spark of life. We come to this pose to remind ourselves this spark of life exists within us, unchanged by our experiences, ready for us to connect within. Connect within to your truest self. And you don't have to learn to let this part of you shine out and always be forward and always lead in some kind of saintly image with your heart center first and you always getting things right. Take that pressure off yourself and just return to this space as often as possible, kindly, softly, with attention, returning to our center, our bliss center, and allowing whatever is ready to be processed, whatever is ready to let go of, and being patient for what is still stored here, for what is still stored around this space, holding you back. Be patient. There's no need to tear down our walls and start over. And then complete your practice coming to a seat, bringing our hands to heart space. This gesture of bringing our left and right sides to meet in front of our heart, as if accepting ourselves as whole and complete, exactly as we are. May we all know love, light, and connection. Thanks for joining us.